July the 10th, 2020. Guys, this storm we've been watching, Faye, Tropical Storm Faye, is now up to 60 miles an hour. I was waiting on this update. It came in at 10:50 a.m. And this morning when I got up early, it was at 50 mile per hour sustained winds, and I checked the webcams along that area. And things were still kind of decent. The dry side of the storm was still on land at that time. But let's just look at the latest. It's saying maximum sustained winds is 50 knots or 60 miles per hour. Minimum central pressure is dropping. It's 999. And it has picked up forward speed moving north towards the Long Island area, New Jersey shoreline at 10 knots or 12 miles an hour. And it was at 7 miles an hour. So it's strengthening. Central pressure is lowering and the forward speed is increasing. Now notice one thing that's really a lifesaver as far as keeping the excessive flooding down, guys, is the storm in the center is dry. Check this out. You've got some moisture involved, but your high storm clouds are in the green up to the orange and yellow red tops here. You can see exactly where the center of circulation is rotating. And they are talking about some low-lying flooding in here. Some streets are flooding. But it's picked up speeds. Remember, it was going to come in or have impact around the Long Island area tonight at about midnight, going into Saturday morning. With this forward increase in speed, I want to look at that because it may come in somewhat earlier. And just a quick look at the 11:30 a.m. model update. They're coming closer together. Yet the only difference is that yesterday the Navy model in the purple here was showing it skirt Boston, kind of missing as far as the center of impact, missing Long Island and catching the Boston area. But now that's changed, and so just right here where Long Island is coming ashore looks to be the kind of heaviest point. Now remember that regardless how strong it is, now it's at 60 miles an hour, you're going to have some storm surge depending on your tides at that time, and wind and some power outages, possibly tornadoes, water spouts. But the section of the storm, even now, the strongest is the top right, this area here. So if it's going to skirt, guys, coming into New York, just again where Long Island reaches the mainland, then this area here will catch the brunt of the storm as it moves further. Now it's down in here, off southeast of Wilmington, of Washington. And so as it moves forward, remember, the right side will have the heaviest winds pushing the shore, and the rain and pushing the tide up. And now you can see, guys, with the advancement in speed, we're saying now the storm will be very close to Long Island. It's moving fast tonight at 8 p.m. instead of tonight at midnight. So that forward speed really made a big difference. Again, they're saying north at 12 here on Fox, the same 999 millibar pressure, winds at 60 miles an hour. Now the center is where the strongest winds will be, and it's dry right now. That doesn't mean the winds cannot strengthen. And it's 11:03 Central Time now. The heat of the day on top of this will create more storms in that could possibly wrap into the center. Either way, when you're dealing with 60 mile an hour sustained winds, you're going to have close to Cat 1 gusts, because it's only 14 miles difference between a Cat 1 and a 60 mile an hour tropical storm. In other words, watch the winds. A lot of you guys are buckling down. Now this is the Long Beach, New York surf cam, and you can see that off to your right, that's where the storm is coming from. It's a little darker there. You've got wind coming in. You got the red flag up. There was a few people out this morning here about 7:30 or so when I first checked it. It wasn't raining at that time. But remember, the storm is coming a little faster. So by 8 p.m. as it's getting dark, that will be the worst time for this area. Guys, we're watching it. You watch it. Make sure that you're paying attention, because one person died yesterday in a group, and I think about 4 or 5 were hospitalized because they did not heed these flag warnings and got caught up in the rip currents. There's no need in that. The entire nation knows about the storm. But again, you've got also in the the Pacific, you've got Christina, again, the system that is formed there, hurricane, and the small system that we were watching in the last video, showing a system moving over the Mexican area in the peninsula there. It is also being watched now. It did make it into the Pacific. We watched it fight that dust storm coming out of Africa. But again, here's your conditions currently. Again, 11:06 a.m. That would be 12:06 in New York this morning. So just conditions are going to change. Now, the beach is different than where you have an inlet with marinas and bays and things like that. That storm surge will be higher in those areas. But guys, we're watching it. You watch it. Be safe.